Okay. Welcome, everyone. My name is George Piazza. I'm the Economic Development Program Officer at LISC Virginia. Today, we're going to have a webinar with MBL on the Kiva micro lending program. And then joining me is Floyd from MBL. If you just want to say hi, Floyd. All right, before we dive into Kiva, I just want to give a quick overview of LISC and who we are. So LISC is a national nonprofit community development financial institution. Our mission is, together with residents and partners, we forge resilient and inclusive communities of opportunity across America, great places to live, work, visit, do business, and raise families. LISC Virginia has been in Richmond since 1990, and we're focused on equitable and comprehensive community development. This includes family wealth building and small business growth, as well as affordable housing and revitalizing commercial corridors. And as a nonprofit, we aim to provide more flexible and affordable investments into communities that have been underinvested or have even been exploited by the banking industry. In my role at LISC, I manage our small business programs. I'll go through these quickly just to show some of the other work we're doing in the community. Our first program is called SEED, and that's in partnership with Bon Secours, Capital One, and Retail Merchants Association. For this program, we provide small businesses with grants and coaching services for businesses in the Churchill neighborhood and along the Hull Street corridor near Manchester. To date, we've provided over 630,000 grants to 38 small businesses in these communities. This is an ongoing program. We'll have an award ceremony sometime in January to announce our new SEED recipients, and then a new SEED program will probably kick off sometime in June or July of next year. Our other program is called 6Biz, and this was developed in partnership with Storefront for Community Design, Baskerville and Timmins Group. And this is really focused on revitalizing the 6 Points commercial corridor. And then lastly, starting in 2020, in response to the COVID pandemic, we provided a ton of relief grants to small businesses across Central Virginia. Last year, we provided over 117 grants to different small businesses, totaling over $1.4 million. And in addition to our place-based programs, we also have small business lending. I'm not going to get into all this too much just because we're going to hit on Kiva a lot more. But some of our programs, in addition to Kiva, we have current recoverable grant programs, and we're also going to have some new programs launching in January. But essentially, these are similar to Kiva in that they're 0% interest, no fee grants that are repayable. They will range from $15,000 to $75,000, and they're really intended, as with Kiva, for business expansion, purchasing equipment, working lines of credit, hiring employees, etc. If this is something that your business is interested in beyond Kiva, as I mentioned, there will be more information that comes out in the coming weeks and months about these grants. And then beyond recoverable grants, as LISC, we also provide more affordable small business loans for working capital. Those loans can range from $25,000 to $500,000. And then with our affiliate Amito, we provide SBA loans and assistance that range up to $5 million. And then Floyd, if you want to just give an overview of MBL.
Yeah, thank you, George. Again, thank you for this opportunity. We're excited about the collaboration with LISC Virginia. A special thank you to Jane Ferreira, your executive director, for your continued support. And so the Metropolitan Business League, we've been in existence for over 50 years. We've always been the backbone for the development, support, and advancement of small businesses in the Richmond and Tri-City areas. Our mission is to promote economic prosperity in Virginia through education, leadership, advocacy, and training for small, women, and minority-owned businesses. And, we realize that small businesses need capital. Statistics show that over 42% of businesses fail due to the lack of cash flow. So basically, we wanted to partner with LISC and create non-traditional funding opportunities and financial resources for businesses. So thank you guys for being in attendance today, and I look forward to working with you.
Great, and that's a great segue to Kiva, and I really appreciate those words, Floyd, about kind of the why and the purpose of Kiva. So just kind of diving into what Kiva is on a high level. Kiva is a global nonprofit that provides 0% interest loans to small businesses and entrepreneurs. as Floyd mentioned, this is really a program about expanding capital access to businesses that traditionally have been blocked out of affordable capital or capital at all to grow their business. And as we know in the Richmond and just Central Virginia business community, how much of a great need there is for affordable capital. So the three principles of Kiva and kind of why they exist, how they operate. The first, as we kind of mentioned, is expanding capital access. But Kiva does this in an interesting way. So rather than underwriting a business based on their credit score, financial history, it's based on your character as a business owner, as an individual in the community. So by doing this, it really aims to provide capital and loans to businesses that may have just challenging financial history or just unable to access loans anyway, even if their credit is in good shape. It just is another avenue for saying, hey, this is a great business. They really need this investment. Connected with that kind of reasoning for expanding capital access is their second principle of lowering the cost of capital. So by making it 0% interest, no fee loans, this is really meant to expand who can access loans. So from businesses that have just got off the ground or need help even launching to businesses that are still kind of in their early years. This is meant for business owners that really need that investment, but maybe don't want to take on the cost of traditional lending. This is a great way to get started. And then the last key principle for Kiva is their connection to a global community. I will get into a little bit more of these details later, but Kiva loans are crowdfunded. So that means individuals from around the world will essentially loan you money for as little as $25. And in the early phases, it's based on your local community. But afterwards, once you kind of get through the Kiva process a bit more, you can be funded from individuals across the globe, which is really great. It's just a nice way to bring funding to communities that may have trouble accessing it, but just as well expanding your business's profile to beyond Richmond, beyond the Virginia community. So don't fret too much about this next slide. I'm just going to hit on some of the points, but this is essentially a mapping of the Kiva ecosystem. So you see on the bottom left, there are businesses like yours that will be interested in applying for a Kiva loan. As it notes, you'll end up working with trustees, which are businesses and organizations like MBL. And essentially, trustees help businesses that want to go through the Kiva loan process have a better chance of going through it, smoothing out the process. We'll get into what trustees do in a little bit. But then I just also want to note LISC and our role. So LISC's main role is we have two kind of key responsibilities. Our first responsibility is trying to identify businesses like the MBL that can serve as trustees. We look for organizations that understand the business community, have the trust of the business community, have been working with businesses for a long time, and really can provide that support and assistance throughout the Kiva loan process and help businesses access this fund. And then the last just key stakeholder in this process that I want to mention are the lenders. Again, this is a crowd-funded loan process from individuals from your community to across the globe that will end up providing lending for your loan. So the other great thing about LISC working with Kiva is our match fund, and this will make more sense as we go through the process, but I want to highlight that with LISC, we provide matching funds for your loan. So if you're approved for Kiva for a $15,000 loan, and you're endorsed by one of our trustees like the MBL, then that means you just need to raise $7,500, and LISC will provide a one-for-one match along the way. So that will match your $7,500 to bring your loan to $15,000. This helps borrowers reach their goal much more quickly. It helps provide just ease of mind, I think, through the process. And we provide those dollar for dollar matches every $25 that comes through. We put in $25, so it goes along and builds up through the process, which is great. So you can see your momentum gathering with your loan. The one note I do want to make here is that for our match to be given to your business and for your loan, you must complete your campaign goal. So again, in this example, if Kiva approves you for a $15,000 loan, to get our matching fund, you have to get the full $7,500. If you raise less than your goal, LISC does not provide the match, so it's very important that you achieve your goal in order to get the match that LISC provides. And then lastly, before getting into more of the Kiva details, I just want to show the successful partnership that LISC has had with Kiva. So LISC has 39 offices across the country, including our Richmond office. And a lot of these offices have been working with Kiva trustees and Kiva offices. And to date, with all these partnerships, we've leveraged over $2 million in loan funding. We've established 100 plus Kiva trustees throughout the country, and that's resulted in over 300 loans to small businesses. And then of those loans, and this really, I think, just demonstrates the kind of social impact goal of Kiva, is over 60% of those borrowers and business owners have been entrepreneurs of color. Over 50% are borrowers of women. And then the default rate on the paying back the loan is less than 10%. So this has proven to be a really successful model for bringing a lot of money to communities and businesses that are in need of that investment, but also businesses that prove themselves to be capable of paying back the loans and really setting themselves up for future traditional capital access and just improved borrowing capabilities for their business. All right, so I'm going to pause here for questions. If anyone has any questions quickly just on Kiva, kind of what its purpose is, there'll be a chance for more questions later on, and we'll get into some more details, but just want to give a chance if anyone does have questions. You should be able to unmute yourself. If not, just send a note in the chat. All right, so I'm just going to move on. If you have more questions, as I said, there'll be a chance later. And there should also, hey Chandra, let's see. Are you able to unmute yourself? Let me see. Let me see if I can unmute you. Yep.
So, hey everyone, how's it going? It's so good to see you guys. It's so good to be on this stream. This is a great opportunity for small businesses, especially that I see at VCC as the Economic Equity Small Business Loan Officer. So, is there a time and business limitation for Kiva? And what's the right candidate that you're looking for? Is it for startups? Do you need to be 2 years in? So, can you expound on that just a little bit?
It's a great question, and we'll get into some of those a little bit later. But firstly, on the timing and the numbers, there's no limit to how many businesses can receive a Kiva loan. There's no time limit in terms of we need 5 Kiva businesses to access Kiva loans by the end of the year. It's just an ongoing, perpetual program. LISC nationally has fundraised money to ensure that there's a sustainable source for the matching fund for businesses to access. So it's a pretty sustainable program, both at the local Richmond area as well as for national LISC programs. And in terms of the businesses, I'm going to get into that a little bit later, so I'll just hold off on that question. But when we do get into that info, if you still have more questions on that, just let me know. And then I did see someone else had a question. Let me see if I can unmute you. Is it Tunisia? I think I've unmuted you. Do you have a question?
Yes.
Yeah, good morning.
My question was pertaining to business documents. I've submitted my Kiva application, but where I'm having problems is asking for something with my, that includes my name, the name of the business, and your business address. And I did that by sending a picture of my, I think it was my business license and the receipt, which included my name, because none of these items have my name and the business address on it, besides my lease. I don't know what documents I should send. That was my question.
And I think, like with Chandra's question, we're going to get into some of those more details in a second. So if you don't mind, I'll just wait till we get to that part of the application process, and then we'll see if we can answer your question there.
No problem.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, so just moving on to the role of the trustee, which in this case, MBL would be our local trustee here for Richmond. The trustees are organizations, as I mentioned, that have a great relationship with the borrowers and the business community. They're organizations that will vouch for the borrowers to Kiva, to LISC, to the wider lending community that's looking to provide lending capital to small businesses. And again, just to reiterate that to receive a match fund, you as a borrower have to be endorsed by a local approved LISC trustee. In this case, in the Richmond area, our only trustee is the MBL. So when you go through your application process, there'll be a point for the MBL to endorse you. You do, again, need their endorsement to receive our matching fund. If you don't have their endorsement, you cannot access a LISC matching fund. But just on the rest of the trustee and their roles, as mentioned, they're partners in the field. They're really looking for businesses that they know would be great to access a Kiva loan fund, are looking for that capital, kind of just keeping their ears to the ground as to the businesses that could benefit from this program. Again, Kiva is a character-based program, so they'll really vouch for the borrower's character, both with Kiva, as I mentioned, and externally to interested lenders. They're going to be a great source throughout your application process, supporting you, making sure your application is filled out correctly, helping you with your pitch. This is a big thing for the Kiva loan process, that it's really your vision, how you envision success for your business, your overall plan, and then really communicating that to borrower or lenders across the world. So they're going to be a great source of help for making sure your application kind of conveys your story correctly. They're also going to be great advocates during your fundraising period, whether it's going to be on social media, sending just personalized notes, just uplifting your campaign, saying this business is looking to raise $5,000 to buy new equipment. They're like a wonderful business. We encourage people to donate $25,000 to their campaign, really helping you try to reach your goal. So that part is as least stressful as possible. And then their last key role in the process is as financial advisors. So if you do successfully complete your Kiva loan, there will be repayments that start 1 month after you receive your loan. So they'll just be there to help remind you, hey, you have repayments coming up. Are you still able to make these repayments? And just helping you make sure you have a successful loan process with Kiva. Some of the benefits, again, just as a quick summary of working with the trustee, they'll make your application process much smoother. So working with the trustee is great. Kiva will kind of review your application much more quickly. It'll kind of just go through their process more easily. But again, their support in completing the application will also be a big help. They'll be able to expand your network and the people that will lend to your business, not just within the Richmond area, but again, as we'll show, Kiva is really a great network and a model for attracting funders from across the world. And then lastly, again, they're really important when they're LISC endorsed trustees, because you need them to activate the LISC matching funds. Okay, any questions on the role of the trustee, what MBL does in the Kiva loan process? I guess if you do have a question, just let me know in the chat, and then I think I can unmute you. I'm not sure if you're able to unmute yourself yet. Cool. So I'll just get rolling, and then if you do have a question on the role of the trustee in MBL, just send it in the chat and we'll get to it later. All right, so next, diving into the borrower, which for many of you all would be you as a business owner and kind of your process. So on becoming a borrower, so for LISC, typical borrowers and businesses, they come from the agricultural industry, food, restaurants, artisans, and other service-based industries. Kiva is really looking at 3 key things in your application. Do they think that you're fundable? Do they think that you're able to fundraise and get enough money to secure your loan? Do you have a really good profile that will grab the attention of people that are interested in giving to businesses? For Kiva, this means you have high quality photos. Can you describe your business very well? Do you have a website? Do you have a social media presence? Just the fact that if your business is just more known through just social networks, that'll be easier for you to fundraise. And then the last key point is your ability to repay back the loan. But some other considerations that I just want to highlight: that smaller loans fundraise faster. So if you're in the need of quick capital, smaller loans might be a better option, even if you're capable of taking on a larger loan, just because you can fundraise more quickly, get the money into your business, and then you can kind of get started again. Generally, Kiva considers equipment and hiring staff as less risky uses of your loan. So we'll get into what you can use Kiva loans for, but those are two pretty safe bets. Pre-startups are considered more risky within Kiva loans. That doesn't mean if you're a pre-startup that you cannot get a Kiva loan, but just understand if you are, that it might be a little just more challenging, and they might start you off with a smaller loan amount. This is something I really want to highlight, which I think is really fantastic about the Kiva loan process, and that's repeat borrowers are encouraged. So especially, again, let's take if you're a small business, you're 1-2 years in, Kiva might only approve you for, let's say, a $2,000 loan your first time through the process. But once you show that you can successfully fundraise and repay the loan, you are totally open to going back to Kiva saying, hey, I actually want to, can I get a $5,000 loan because now I need to purchase this new equipment or access this new training. With Kiva, there's no limit to how many times as a borrower you can access their funding. So it's really a great model, especially for earlier businesses, to kind of keep going back into that well to expand your business. And then the last point, which I really do want to emphasize, is just the social impact and the values of Kiva loans again. So there's a strong priority for veteran, women-owned, refugee, immigrant, and minority-owned businesses. So this is, again, really a loan process that's meant to respond to the understanding that traditional banking is going to have these discriminatory practices baked in many ways along their traditional lending process, and really trying to remove those barriers and provide capital to those types of business owners. Some basic eligibility requirements. They're pretty light for Kiva, which is, again, a real big benefit of this program. So for the business owner, you just have to be 18 years or older. You have to have a PayPal account, or you have to be able to have the ability to create one. This is how you will repay back your loan. So this is an important part of the Kiva loan process. Thirdly, your business has to not be in bankruptcy, foreclosure, or under any liens. But I do want to emphasize that if your business has been, or you've individually have gone through bankruptcy or foreclosure in the past, you're still eligible for Kiva loans. We just ask that you be upfront in your application. Again, this is a character-based program. So if you've gone through bankruptcy, just note it, but that's not going to prevent you from accessing funds. And then the emphasis on household incomes under $100,000. During COVID, they relaxed this eligibility requirement a little bit, and so your household can have incomes over $100,000. But again, this is really meant for those business owners that might struggle to access traditional capital. So there is a strong emphasis on kind of those micro entrepreneurs. In terms of ineligible business types, there's really only a handful. Those include direct sellers like Avon or Mary Kay, contract workers like Uber or Airbnb. You cannot use Kiva loans for pure financial investments. And then illegal business activities and gun shops are also ineligible business types. But outside of that, there's a wide net of business eligible types. And then just to emphasize that some of the most successful borrowers that go through the Kiva process, they're tech able and responsive, and I'll highlight a bit more of that later on. You're also able to show significant impact by a smaller Kiva loan, and why your business overall would benefit from this. This is a really important next point, which is having a business plan. Just being able to show that you have this larger vision for how you want your business to grow, And again, being able to connect that back to the Kiva loan, saying with $5,000, yes, it'll allow us to hire someone or purchase new equipment, but also we have this larger vision for success and we know how we want our business to grow over the next few years. And having that business plan too will just make your business more successful in going back for repeat Kiva loans. Some other key tips to being a successful borrower, that's going to be working with your trustee and with Kiva through the application process, through the repayment process. The more you can communicate to your trustee and Kiva when they reach out to you, the better time you'll have going through the process. And then this last point I'll get back to again a little later on, but it's having a strong supporters network. So one of the key steps to the Kiva loan is actually kind of leveraging and tapping into your own network of friends, family, customers, supporters in the community. And you're going to need some of those to provide initial fundraising for your loan. So just as a business owner, having that strong supporters network will get you through the Kiva loan much more quickly. So just a quick overview on some of the loan usages and how you can use a Kiva loan. So they're really meant for business expenses, expansion, kind of getting your business off the ground. Ideal uses include equipment, working capital, inventory. You can hire employees, you can upgrade your space, you can use it for advertising, and a kind of a great foundation to Kiva loans too, is they're just really good for building your credit. And I do just want to emphasize that some less frequently requests than just, again, some of those usages that maybe don't attract as much funding are marketing, advertisement, and R&D. Traditionally, these are usages that, yes, you can use a Kiva loan for, but you might struggle to fundraise for in the crowdfunding process. This next slide, I'm going to spend a little bit more time on. This is essentially your journey through the Kiva loan process. So I want to make sure everyone has a good sense of kind of the overview and what you'll be doing through each phase. The first phase is your application. This should take about an hour. And this is, again, something that you want a friend, someone that you trust, the trustee, you want them to review to make sure you filled out everything correctly. But again, this is also an important step in the process where before you submit your application, you need your trustee's referral code, or you need to have them go in the system and endorse your loan before submitting. This, again, will allow you to trigger and access LISC's matching funding. But again, just to emphasize, if you don't do this in the application process, you may not be able to access the LISC match funding. So it's a really important part of the process. Then once you submit the application, Kiva does the review of all applications. That takes typically 1 to 2 weeks. So it's really a pretty quick turnaround. And this is, again, where I want to emphasize your tech savviness, your responsiveness, that during this time, Kiva will be reaching out to you through emails, phone calls, and that unresponsive businesses will be rejected. So during this time, once you submit your application, check your spam box, check your voicemail. Just be sure to check whatever phone number and email you provide so that you're not missing any calls from Kiva. And then if you haven't heard anything after a week and a half, it's probably a good thing to reach out to your trustee just to say, hey, is anything going on? Not missing that 2-week window. So then let's say after Kiva reviews your process, in the application, you'll request a certain amount for your loan. Kiva will then tell you after your review, hey, you've been approved for, let's say, $10,000. After that, then you'll have a private fundraising period, which lasts up to 15 days. In this 15 days, this is where you have to fundraise from your local network of friends, family, customers, people from the local community. This is an important part of the Kiva process because, again, this is a character-based lending process. So from Kiva's perspective, if you're able to show that you have the support and the trust of your friends, family, and customers, this is just further endorsement and proof that you are a trustworthy business owner and community member, and that you do have the backing of the local community. Once you complete then your 15 days, your private fundraising period, and this period can be less than 15 days. If it takes you 2 days to raise what you need to in the private fundraising phase, then you move on to the public fundraising phase. And this is where lenders from across the world can provide funding for your business and your campaign. This is where especially MBL and LISC, we're going to be doing a lot of promotion of your business and your campaign within our networks to make sure that people know of your business and to try to help you out with your fundraising period. And then this is where you have 30 days to raise the remainder of your loan fund. And again, if you're approved for $15,000, this means that you have to fundraise $15,000 or $7,500 if you have MBL's endorsement, because then we'll provide the match. But this is a crucial time where it's up to you, and we'll be there to help as well, but for that fundraising to achieve your goal. And then lastly, if you have, once you successfully complete your fundraising campaign, you'll have the repayment period. This will be anywhere from 6 to 36 months. I'll kind of show how that gets determined in a second because they're based on your loan size, but you will have a 1-month grace period where you won't have to start repayments. But after that first month, once you've received a loan from Kiva, then you'll have to start repayments. All right, so quickly going through some of the application process, there's kind of 2 key components to the application. Firstly is your application about you and your business. I'm not going to get into everything here just because it's on the screen. A lot of it's just basic personal information. But the 2 things I do want to emphasize is the loan request amount. So this is where you'll ask and tell Kiva how much you want to request, but I do want to emphasize that you may ask for $15,000, but that doesn't mean you're going to get a $15,000 loan. I'll show kind of their criteria for determining how much of a loan you get in the next slide or 2, but just to point that this is where you'll show how much you've requested. And then again, that this is a character-based loan process, so just being honest and upfront about your history, bankruptcy, etc. None of these things will ding you in your loan process, but it's just meant to be that show transparency and trust both from Kiva to you and from you as a borrower to Kiva. Next, the second part of your application, I really call like the pitch of your application in the Kiva process. This includes photos or videos of your business, you at work, kind of your business in general, as well as your kind of elevator pitch, your kind of short 1 sentence about how much a Kiva loan will help you, what will that do for your business, how you'll use that money, your personal story. The thing I love about Kiva, and I want to emphasize here, is that this, I think, is a great way for future lending needs and kind of helping your business develop your pitch, refine it, so that if you do have to go to banks in the future, if you do want additional capital access or even just future Kiva loans, you kind of have your pitch honed and you're ready to go there. So this is, again, something that working with a trusted friend, mentor, the trustee to refine your pitch, this is probably the most important part of your application. So just to summarize some key tips in your application process, again, just making sure that your photos and that loan use statement, that single sentence are on point. You've reviewed them. It says exactly what you want to say. You've had someone to review your narrative, and that you make sure all your contact information is correct. Again, I just want to emphasize that if you're unresponsive throughout the Kiva loan process, Kiva may reject your loan if they can't hear from you. So just making sure your cell phone or home phone number is typed in correctly, your email, and that you have access to these devices and logins. That's essential to your application. Then once you submit your application, again, just checking your inbox, spam box, voicemail, making sure that you can be in contact with Kiva. And then if your loan is approved, Kiva will then reach out to you. They'll confirm how much money you've been approved for and the next steps in the loan process. And really, that's that fundraising period, which kicks off with those 15 days of local private fundraising. Okay, before we pause for questions, and then we actually have Carol Reese with us, who's one of the business recipients from the Kiva loan. Before we get into that, there's just 2 last slides that I want to get through that'll kind of answer some of the more nitty-gritty details on the Kiva loan. The first is how they determine the loan size. So if you notice the table on the left, if you're a startup business, if you're kind of pre-revenue, less than 1 year old, Kiva will most likely approve you for $500 to $2,000 in your loan. If you're a new business with some revenue and you're 1 to 3 years old, you'll most likely going to get a $3,000 to $5,000 loan. And if you're an established business with steady revenue, more than 3 years of operation, you're going to most likely be put in that $6,000 to $15,000 loan. But the caveat I just want to say here is, of course, if you can prove need otherwise, if you're a startup and you can prove need for more than $2,000, you may get more than $2,000. It's just unlikely. And additionally, on the other end of the spectrum, if you're an established business but you just need $5,000 for your Kiva loan, you can certainly ask for a smaller amount. This is just how they consider starting off newer businesses with smaller loans before then gradually having them access larger loan funds. So the just last few points that I want to emphasize here again is that your loan amount is going to be determined on your individual finances, what you can repay back. They're not going to give you a loan that's too big and you won't have the capacity to pay back the loan. They want to set you up for success here. Your social media presence, your local network, your narrative are key elements to this. And then just the last point again to emphasize that that going back for Kiva loans is a real a goal for us, MBL and Kiva. So we really, while we may help you on the application, it's considered a longer journey with you and your business. So we hope to maintain those relationships so that you can graduate to higher loan amounts. The last slide that I'm going to touch on, and then we'll kind of pause for questions and then hand things over to Carol for a bit, is just a slide that shows the number of private funders you need based on your loan amount. So if you look on the left, if you're approved for a $1,000 to $3,000 loan, in that local private fundraising period, those 15 days where you have to get friends, family, customers, you need to get up to 5 lenders for your loan. And then on the far end, if you get a $15,000 loan, you'll need to access about 30 local lenders, friends, family, neighbors, etc. So I just want to show that this is the typical lending requirement amount for depending how much of a loan you get, but also to show if you get a higher loan, there is more work that kind of needs to go into ensuring that you fundraise successfully. And then the last point here is just the term. So if you get a smaller loan, you're likely going to get a year to 18 months to repay back the loan. If you get a larger loan over $6,500, you'll probably get 36 months to repay back the loan. So again, if you're a new business, you just get a smaller amount. The short repayment window will then allow you to turn around more quickly to access an additional Kiva loan. And then kind of get you on your way. Whereas if you have a larger loan, you'll have more time to pay off your Kiva loan. All right, so I am going to pause for questions. If you do have a question, just maybe pop it in the chat, or you can just let me know that you want me to unmute you, and I'll do my best to let you ask any questions. All right, well, if anyone does have questions, just let me know. Next, I kind of want to hand things over to Carol Reese. Just before I hand things over to Carol, a few things I just want to say is firstly, she's by far one of the best small business coaches in the Richmond area. So for anyone who's looking for coaching assistance on your business, cannot recommend Carol highly enough. She is a former LISC employee, worked with Carol for a good bit of time, one of the just happiest, brightest people. So really thrilled that Carol was able to get a loan to help her small business, which helps other small businesses, which is really terrific. And then Carol, I'm gonna ask you to hold on 1 second as I try to let you in to present. Let me see how I can do this. I'm gonna try to see if you can unmute, and then I'll see if I can make you a panelist. Oh, there we go, make panelist. There you are. Hey,
All right. Testing, testing, testing.
there we are.
Oh, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much, George, for the introduction. I will put a check in the mail to you later this week. Hello, Mr. Miller, two of my favorite guys. I want to say first that Kiva really saved me. I was in between contracts, in between payments. I didn't need a lot of money. I just needed something to tie me over. And I promise you, the whole process was less than 30 days from the time I applied to the time the money got into my account. What I do want to say is that a lot of people are apprehensive because you're putting your business out there and everybody on your social media, and people will start calling you and says it's for real, it's a hoax. And I want you to set aside any pride that you may have to save your business and understand that you have friends and family members that are willing to invest in you. So give them that opportunity. And no amount is too little or too great. And I was not above calling everybody I knew and say, hey, guess what? Yes, I need to borrow some money, and you would get it back. You can get it back. So make your list, organize before you start your process. Organize your supporters, your advocates, and let them know what's coming down the pike. And as you're doing your video, look at some of the other videos. They provide guidance on what information helps other people see. So even once I promoted to my social media, which is very small, I don't have a lot of following, they promoted it to theirs, and immediately people from all over the world who did not know me contributed money. It was a very streamlined process. It was not painful. I just suggest and advise that you get prepared before you do it. You prepare your following, to let them know this is coming down the pike, and you ask your team to support you in everything. And it is a very and it does not affect your credit. They don't pull your credit or anything like that. So and I think that if you're a small business and you're looking for money to help your operation, some of the things that they qualify for, then I really think that you should consider the Kiva aspect. And if you're like me and you don't really care what the public perception of people you put out that you're needing money, then you'll be fine. That part of it did not bother me. I know it does bother other people, but the whole thing is, as a small business, we're all in this together. And there's no small business right now that does not need some kind of assistance. So I said, please take advantage of it. And where else can you get a loan with no interest? That's it. Thank you.
Well, thanks, Carol. Those were really good points. And exactly, one of the great things about having someone go through the process, just share some of the tips and the experience. And then I think I'm gonna make everyone a panelist in a second so you can jump on, show your face, ask any questions. But before we do that, and before kind of leave Carol on her story, I just want to really encourage everyone to go to her loan page. I have this in another snapshot I took of it. Carol had amazing videos, images, just a wonderful story. I think it's really an exemplary piece of work for showing how you should make your application. A really stellar job, just a great story. And obviously, she successfully fundraised and did a wonderful job campaigning. Less than 30 days, that's pretty amazing. So I just encourage everyone to check out her loan page, get some advice, and a lot to learn from Carol, which is great. So thank you, Carol.
Thank you. Thank you.
So before we open up to questions, I'm going to hand things over to Floyd for just a few last quick items.
Yeah, thank you, George. Excellent presentation. And Carol, it's always a pleasure to see you. We were very supportive of your Kiva efforts, and we were excited to endorse you as a trustee. So thank you for all the work that you do for the small business community. We are so committed to this program. Kiva has been around for a long time, you guys. This is not something new. It's been around, but a lot of folks in Virginia don't really know about it. So the Metropolitan Business League is committed to providing the education and financial resources through Kiva for small businesses here in the Richmond region. And so we are going to hire a capital access manager that will support small businesses and community development projects with a special emphasis on understanding and underserving low-income communities. And so this person will be responsible for identifying and assessing borrowers' capital needs, making referrals, and assisting with origination and processing and underwriting loan applications for small businesses. And, you know, this is just an incredible project, and we're so excited to provide this resources for you. So looking forward to working with you guys. And if you have any questions until we hire that capital access manager, feel free to reach out to me with any questions. Thank you, George.
Yeah, thank you, Floyd. Before I stop sharing my screen and then I'll kind of let everyone be on the gallery view, you can ask any questions. I just want to point out some additional resources, and the links to these will be available. I'll send the PDF around. But we have on our LISC page at lisc.org/Virginia, we have a Kiva page that has a bunch of resources. The most important resource I want to highlight that's on there, and I linked it here, there's a document called the Borrower Resource Guide. It walks you through everything you need to know if you're an interested borrower, again, the loan usages, etc. So I really highly recommend reading that before you get started, seeing if it's right for you. And then, as Carol mentioned, on the Kiva website, there's a whole bunch of resources, FAQs, videos, a lot of information on the Kiva website that I've linked here that can help you if you're interested in learning more about Kiva. And then even just through the process, there's a lot of resources there to help out. So I'm going to stop sharing. And then if anyone has any questions, hopefully you can all unmute yourself and feel free to ask away.
I don't have any questions. They were answered, and I just want to commend you both for taking on this initiative. I know Floyd and I had a conversation about this when I was in my former role at Wells Fargo. And I'm just so glad to see this has come to fruition for you guys. I think this is a great opportunity for our community and our small businesses. And I just commend you guys, and I will definitely be sending you all some folks to take advantage of this opportunity. So thank you all for taking this on.
Thank you, Chandra.
Hello, this is Miss Bowling. Just if you could give me a point of contact of who I should reach out to in regards to documents, that would be great.
Yeah. And Ms. Bowling, did you work with MBL or did you go through the Kiva loan on your own?
MBL referred me to you all.
Okay, great. So yeah, so then we'll follow up with you, I guess, after this meeting, and we'll get you squared away on those business documents.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
I have a question. For veterans, do we need to upload our DD-214s? A copy of that if we're a veteran and we want to apply for this?
I believe you will at in your application phase. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty confident. So what I'll do is I'll look through our documents and I'll follow up with you afterward directly and get that answered for you.
Thank you.
And I would say in answer to that question, anything that you can provide that you think will be a support to you, you know, there's no wrong document that you can provide that you will be able to utilize to support your efforts. So, you know, if you have a question about whether or not to send something to Kiva during the application process, just go ahead and send it in, you know.
I didn't see anything regarding returning citizens. Is there stipulations regarding that, or?
No, there isn't. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. Any other last questions, thoughts? Yeah.
Very quiet bunch.
You guys must have done a fantastic job. You don't have any questions.
But I challenge everybody to share this information with somebody. We all know a business owner that may need to apply for this and they think it's daunting, you know, and they don't want to try it. But I challenge you all to share it. I have shared it with everybody. So, yeah.
And kudos for you, Carol, for being so transparent. But you're helping other people, so thank you for sharing your story.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for your journey. We appreciate it.
Well, if there are no more questions, just in closing, I'll just say, like I said, I'll send this around an email. I'll just attach the borrower guide as well, in addition to the recording of this webinar and the PDF that we walked through. And yeah, I appreciate everyone's time. Just to reemphasize Chandra's question on the number of businesses, there is no limit to how many businesses can apply for Kiva loans. I hope every one of you either is interested, applies, looks to go through this process. We're here to help out. So if you have any questions, please reach out to Florida myself. And if there are no more questions, yep, Carol.
I just want to suggest that you guys do this info session at least every other month, so that people can be aware for those who were not able to attend today.
Yeah, that's a good point. We have to get on a schedule, so we'll figure that out.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate you. Thank you.
Very welcome.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Bye.
Have a good day.
Happy
Thanks,
holidays.
George.